we're on. Okie dokie. So. Oh dear, that was a bit of a slow start, wasn't it? Alright, so I'll show you what I got. I got a couple new features and I got a bit of a plan for you. Just based on what we were talking about the other day and trying to reconcile that with the real world, because the real world is.
Are you meant to be displaying something here?
Not just yet. I'm not. No, I did not make that mistake. Yeah, I know.
I'm sitting here nodding sagely and going, yeah.
Okie dokie now. What are you drinking? Iron brew.
Sugar and caffeine.
Oh, not the zero one?
Not this time. No.
Okay. So I'm soon I'm gonna be able to make a commitment to you of persistence of the database. Unfortunately, I had to blow it away last night. But it's coming real soon. So I want to show you the latest round of changes that I made to the system. So that just updated Hal from GitHub.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, but what I added was I want to take this bit here and remove that, because that almost doesn't make any sense now. If I put this and I put the name of the help up here, this is really supposed to be, I want to make it display the full help file.
Can you give me a second?
Sure.
Sorry, back.
Yeah. So I want to make this display the full help file. All this talk of nested helps, I think what the nested help is that when it engages the help, like here it called the help called Hal system, I want to put this whole window nested inside this window, and that the system gets replaced with the help that got called. Dave can interact with the help if it asks.
I see.
Yeah.
We're not going to run out of screen real estate if we do multiple nested.
Well,
we hit a drone. I
mean, first of all, to nest takes you this much screen width. So you're like, you could probably fit maybe, well, you got 1 and then 2, 3, probably 4 would be reasonably comfortable. 5 starts to get a bit squishy.
Okay, that's more enough before you.
And it's sort of like, why are you so deep in helps? You know, like 4 or 5 deep's fucking pretty far down, dude. Like, you know, like if you look at the file system that you use every day, the chances of you being 5 folders deep, it's not that common. That's a long way.
Yeah, and when you, so if you got it nested, let's for simplicity say it's nested 2.
Yeah.
Beyond the base. So you've got engaged there and then 1 other there. You go into talking to that bot. Is the response from that just inside that bot, or does it percolate up?
The final output percolates up.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, it stays in the bot.
Right. That's really useful. I'll tell you.
And that's an isolated box. So this thread only sees what it put in and what it got out, and whatever happened in between. We can supply a summary later, but in general, the principle is it's sort of none of its business.
And when it gets percolated up, then it
Yeah.
gets the final output.
Yeah, that's right.
And screen real estate aside, if I was to jump in to 3 bots deep,
Yeah.
then it would update the output of the one up, and then the one up, and then
Yeah.
the base.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. That's very good.
So that works for you?
Yeah, very much.
Okie dokie. Issues with that. If you need to pop out all the way up and then drill all the way back down, that can sort of look a bit weird and get a bit nasty, but I can't think of a practical time that you'd need to do that.
No, I've simulated this bit, and unless you want to be a real, dick as Dave, although you could change intent, you don't change intent halfway through doing something, right? The worst you could say is, all right, forget it.
Right.
And then which you pop all the way up, and the final output would be, nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, that's sort of useful though. So I guess we could, I feel like we can cross that bridge when we come to it. It's not impossible, but I think that if we fuck around with it a bit, we can get a nice sort of a flow where you can jank out like 3 bots deep, switch intent, and then come back, drop straight back in, something like that. Like the output could be a special kind of output that was like torn. ADHD kicked in, and Dave has left this thread dangling. It is, and it gives it a marker that lets top level hell dive straight back in and just resume as though nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Where's my laser pointer gone?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, dude.
I'm going to disconnect my PC because it might be...
No, they took it. Oh, you mother. Fuckers. Why?
That was uncalled for. Okay.
Oh, you motherfucker.
Describe it then.
I think we're about to get a lot of rapid updates though, I really do. It feels like it, right? Like it was like a pause and then clunk, this whole new thing. And then it's
nice tree, but where's the toys?
I think we're about to get toys.
Yeah. Okay, I'll try and describe it then. So, if we had Dave talking to bot 1, that talks to bot 2, talks to bot 3.
Yeah.
You could jump in and talk to bot 3. And that entire session that you're highlighted there, that box, is one intent. And so, for now, I think it's reasonable to expect that when you've started a conversation, you're going to finish the conversation, because these are just small units of thought, right? And unless you really beat the ADHD, you're going to
I'll make it this way. I'll make it this way anyway, and we can poke around with it. I'm struggling to see several consequences deep with it, because it's quite it's a deceptively complex thing to have a nice smooth flow with a human who's jumping around the place and present the containment right for the bots and have it sort of fit the data structure in the right way. So it's fucking, it's fiddly.
Yeah, but the thing we're saying is, I think certainly for now, we can ask Dave for a little bit of fucking discipline,
right?
And he can change intent, but he can only change intent when he's up at the top level, because that's a new kind of discourse. That's a new action,
right?
So
how would he, if he's 3 bots deep, how would he do that?
So no fucking laser pointer.
Sorry, dude. Right. I'll try to help you out here. I can see your finger, so that's good.
Okay, right. So imagine 3 bots deep. You got engaged there. That's the first bot to the right. Second bot to the third. Third bot. Dave jumps into the third bot, gives it a nudge, and the output is percolated back up to the output. Now that is one. I don't know what you call it, like
a
one
romp.
discourse.
One
it's
romp.
One thing. Yeah, exactly. Now, if I then go and talk about, I have been talking about Holiday in Sicily, and then I'm talking about a dog, then it's different bots, of course. If I go back and talk about Sicily, bot 1 is the first one, which is Sicily. Bot 3 remembers its session. So it remembers what I've said to it before.
You mean the third bot? So the nested bot, when you go back and talk to it next, the same session is called up.
Yes.
Okay, so well, help me understand then. So you're here, you went down 3, you popped up, then some more stuff happened, then you went back down 3 levels deep, right?
Yeah.
How do I present here the history that is up here?
I'm less interested in the history at that point. I'm more interested that it's not bot number 3. When I talk to it again, hasn't forgotten what I've said before. I don't want to have to repeat myself.
But that's the history.
But the session it persists now.
But now you've detached. So what the UI is showing you is incomplete.
Well, it could simply have the prompt response cycle that you could scroll up every time you start to talk to bot 3 again.
Right.
It's got the prompt response stream that you could scroll up.
Oh, yeah. So I could just do some sort of UI gymnastics where it's a different color to indicate that it came from somewhere else. Okay, I'll keep thinking on that. But basically what you want is you want to indicate that, yes, there is some fresh stuff going on here, but there is also this old stuff going on because the thread is related, and you want to be able to interrogate the old and the new, and you want to visually see it, but you don't want to lose all the stuff that happened in the middle here, because that sort of helped you get to where you were as well, in a way, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, now, you're saying that if bot 3 comes to an output, then that percolates up to bot 2 as an output, and it considers it, perhaps does something more, then goes up to bot 1 as an output. That output is the only session that bot 1 knows about. It doesn't necessarily need to know what bot 2 and bot 3 did.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, that's the idea, yeah.
It just needs to know what the final answer is.
Yeah, so these bots, I'm making them run on their own branch. So they have their own view of the file system, their own everything. Okay, so there's a little bit of gymnastics to be done around presenting the long-running history when you're switching between deep threads. But I think definitely that's a step in the right direction, is to have this nested help thing, right? So I'll build that, and then we can see what it looks and feels like from there.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing, which is I think you've only got baked in, say if we're building something and the last response is like, yes, that's what I want, is to be able to just save that off somewhere, potentially as a help, or maybe it's just data, and saying, okay, right, save that off, and then be able to retrieve that.
You mean like to the file system?
Yeah. So say if I don't know, I was making a recipe and I got a recipe result, I was like, I'm going to keep going with this one, but that looks all right. So kind of save that, so don't have to go.
You mean like
pecking all the way up?
Like this?
Yes, precisely. Yeah, and then be able to retrieve that. And retrieval implies search. If you've got more than a small number, it's like, I wrote a recipe, 2 days ago. Can you show me, the recipes?
You mean like this?
Yeah, precisely.
And then you get that, and look at that. You got your
right.
Right.
Say right.
Okay, so I mean that's there right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say, I love how sloppy this thing is.
I know, it's great, isn't it?
Right? It's like it knows what you want. Right. So I want to replace all the vowels in.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Yeah. What was 7? With the number 7. All right. Okay. Right now,
How's that?
Yeah. Okay. So, type in something like, what are words similar to the content in recipe.txt? Now, it should figure out that finger is actually still finger, even though the 7s are there, and it should give digit and that sort of thing.
What are words that are similar to the contents of the recipe file? Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe this isn't so bad after all.
That's pretty ballsy, actually.
Kind of works.
Yeah. Flinger, singer, ringer. Oh, it's gone for rhyming. Okay. Then say, no, it says finger. Give me all the other words.
No, it says finger. Give me all the other words.
Pretty fucking big. Let's see what it does. Minger. Okay.
Zinger. All right, so I mean, basically, what I'm showing you here, right? Okay, so this is
that's the model. That's not us.
What I wanted to do was I wanted to keep the tool outputs looking like this, because these tool outputs can be concurrent, and so this is all happening in one thread, right? You're like Dave Hal tool call, but then sometimes when you do a tool call that's a help. I'm gonna badge it specially so that it's got a different icon, different color. Then it takes this whole thread concept and runs it nested like an iframe in this little inside this window, right?
Yeah.
And then you, Dave, can interact with that. It can do tool calls. It can do everything else. It can also nest deeply again, but that'll at least give us the next round of things to fuck around with, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. And the only other addition would be, and this is not strictly necessary, but being able to have a scroll bar inside of one of these iframes, you just go, okay, that's what it is. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, well, so what you get is you get this collapse thing now that I've added for everything, so that I can collapse the tool calls, although I obviously neglected to put it in on the tool call, but I'll get there. So you can collapse. So maybe the tool calls sort of collapse all the inner workings by default, but then you can sort of open it up and see inside it if you want or not.
Right. Yeah? So what I'd expect in that one is if I had something that kicked off another bot, and then output percolated back up, I'd want to see that those bots have been kicked off, but I don't really care, because what I want is the output. If the output's wrong, I want to go like, is that because of bot 2?
Right. No, so what you should, and what I was going to give you is, I got a cool little idea here. When you mouse over it, I'm going to change this button to an edit button. And if you hit it, you can then edit your stuff here. And that will change everything. That'll start generating again from that point on. And then you'll have like a toggle button where you can go left and right to see different versions that you made.
Sorry, stand by. I've got a call. Try and ignore it, but I can't find my phone.
Oh no, that's awful.
I'm just going to let it ring out.
Oh dear. That's like the worst.
Yeah. Slightly irritating noise. So when you did that, that's what we were talking about last time, which was effectively you're branching off.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. You forked the branch, and now the arrows will let you navigate between forks, but it will what the constraint is that if you fork, you can't fork and have all the stuff below it come with it. You have to start afresh is a constraint that I don't think is too restrictive to put, but it means that, you know, the UI becomes much more sane. You know, just like in ChatGPT, if you go back and you edit something, it regenerates everything below it.
Yeah.
Same thing here, right?
Yeah. Precisely.
Yeah. Precisely. Oh, shit. Okay, man. Well, look, I mean, I'm glad I'm speaking to you about this. It feels like actually we're not too far away from...
Well, I'll give you some evidence for that, because over the last couple of days, what I've been doing is using the last version. Well, also in the cut and paste mode, and the process was right up front. I take a base HAL and get it to generate a sysprompt of, let's say, bot level 1. Now, even as it was, what I would say is now I'm going to call that Abby, and then I get the base HAL to generate prompt number 2, and I'm going to call that, you know, Billy, and then Charlie, and then give it an instruction saying if I predicate any question, I'm talking to Abby, Billy, or Charlie.
Right.
It's getting pretty close, which is exactly what you've got there, right? Except I was just doing it in a kind of polluted way.
Right.
So I couldn't be sure that it wasn't, you know, cross-polluting, but it's exactly the same. So it's like, for example, building out a kind of CRM thing, which another time I'll take you. I've not got to display at the moment, but it's getting very close. How creates, I talk about how, and then you create something that creates bots that knows about the context and knows about the dictionary. You create the dictionary, and then it's like, boom, okay, so that's now your first one. Go back to how it's saying, now I'd like you to do the kind of inverted apps thing, model me a customer agent, model me a duty manager, model me a driver. And then I go into the customer and saying, generate me a question, and then go back to the system, which is the bot 1, not HAL, and say, a customer's just asked this, and then it populates out the schema, saying, okay, here's how you do it. And I can go backwards and forwards between those 4 personas into the build bot and get something that seems to be quite approaching a pretty decent schema. The next step I've got is this coherence test bot, saying, okay, so if you add something, here's a whole bunch of rules which you've already agreed, run through the regression test, make sure nothing's broken. And that whole approach of doing the personas is really, really fucking powerful, man. And I've done it with a whole bunch of different things. I've run it past some other people and saying, right, okay, so, you know, you want job X to do, who's it for? Okay, so tell me about the person who's it for. You start with the persona, and you start with the base system, and you get the persona to talk to it backwards and forwards, which is exactly what you got here. But every now and again, the persona says something weird or boring. And then you can nudge the persona and say, no, be more creative and be more grumpy.
Right.
And then it will come back with something more grumpy, and then you put that in, and the schema will be updated. So exactly the same kind of nesty thing I've been kind of hobbling together. But it's exactly that. To be able to just intervene. This is certainly in the build step of, well, as far as I can see, pretty much any system. You start off with the personas, as we were talking about the other day, but the ability to go in and prod one saying, you just said the same thing last 2-3 times, that's boring.
Right.
You know, be more creative.
Right.
Boom. Be more grumpy, be happier, or whatever, and then you go back. So it's exactly what you've come up with independently in this schema, this layout, is what I've been doing by hand.
Good. Okay.
So that sounds like convergence.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. So I came up with an idea, and I do declare it's a good one. So anyway, what sort of got me down was that I was trying to figure out how do I make HAL update without me blowing away the database, and I was like, surely I've got enough tools to be able to, write a file and do this and that, right? And I thought I did. I possibly do, but what I realized my mistake was trying to make a help to do it was sort of like trying to perform, robot surgery from a distance when I didn't actually know how to do surgery in the first place. And so this was the help file that I made that does the update that you saw at the top of the call when I told HAL to update itself. This is all that's in it. But the idea struck me this afternoon that I should make you've got your version of HAL that's good for what you're trying to do. I should make us a shell HAL that is aware of every command in every isolate, and its sole purpose is to execute them. So it doesn't really do any thinking. Like what?
That makes sense,
right?
Yeah,
it's just
it just gathers your intent, and that can be really lightweight because intent, from the grand scheme of things, is a difficult thing. From a list, is like, what's the best fit?
Right, and so I should be able to do things like list all isolates. Right, it can't do that right now, and then I'd be like, show me all repos. I would like to become super user. And then I'd say, like, because the issue with Artifact is that there's branching and there's also files. And so to send an action somewhere, you have to know the branch. First of all, you got to know the repo ID, then the branch, and then the file that you want to, right? And it can be quite, like the user interface to allow you to send any action to any branch into any file would be a complicated user interface. But using NL, I think I can do it like in a couple of hours.
It's the equivalent of saying, show me all the man pages, where a man page is actually a one-line summary of all the repos.
I don't quite get that, but I think
so you can say, list me all the repos.
Right.
And you just get a bunch of names of repos, right?
Right.
What would be more helpful is give me a one-line summary of all the repos. That's a bit more helpful. Various ways of saying that.
Right. So what I'm proposing with this help that I'll make is that this is I should be able to drive the system entirely using just that help file. And whilst it won't be, what I discovered from this is that there's a meaning layer that sits on top of the isolates that I was falling into the trap of trying to solve meaning when it really didn't need to be. Like, all I really wanted was for the system pull command to be issued at the root of the HAL repo. I didn't making a help that sort of understands like what I mean when I say update HAL. That's not really that useful. What am I getting at? The ratio of
I get it. I think I get it. Well, let me give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay.
For pool, what I'd say is get me the latest for bot one. Now that implies a whole bunch of actions. Get me the latest implies pool, for example.
Right.
I shouldn't have to at any point cut and paste a command like system pull.
Right.
Or even know that pull is a keyword. I should be able to say, get me the latest of a thing.
Right, but that's the help layer. That's the natural language retrieval augmented fucking fancy shit layer. The layer below is just raw commands, and we need that raw commands because the ratio of things that we want to do right now versus helps that there's more helps that we would need than raw commands, because just as you were copying and pasting between tabs in the platform, it's because you knew what you wanted to do, but it wasn't a well-trodden enough path that there was some software built to do it for you. So it is here. All the commands in the isolates need to be able to be experimented with before we can write the helps that can make it just so smooth for you to do. And so that's the sort of breakthrough for me was like, I need to make the bash help. And the bash help is not that smart, but it does know every command.
Exactly. So it goes through, and the only thing to be aware of when you're writing that bash help is to give it, a bit of a break. When you say system pull, a bit of a description about
you gotta be precise as to what it says, and it should be prompted to always be like, mate, I don't know what you mean, and I don't want to break something, so you need to be really, but what should happen is that if we do an activity enough times using the shell or using the bash help, we should be able to deduce a help that would have been able to do that with just a lazy phrase, right?
Exactly, and that bash shell help should be able to ask for, as you say, ask for a clarification. So, for example, if I say, tug the latest repo, and they go,
you mean pull?
You say what? I think you might be asking to get the latest, right? So we need to give it some.
Sorry, Dave, I can't tug anything.
Yeah, exactly. So rather than, because you can constrain it down saying, here is system pull, here's description, blah, 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 blah. But you also need to include on it the permission to discern intent when what this person is asking for is substantially different from each of the descriptions in the things it knows about. And it's like,
yeah, that's right. And then like, so the help layer becomes basically a way to give Hal confidence that phrases that on their own would seem weird are correct because they signal weight on a particular thing. So if you said, it's like, well, he said tug, and in this help it says, synonyms of pull are tug, yank, fucking grasp, all these things, and it's like, okay, sweet, I think I got it, and then off it goes. Okay, so does it mean then that see this thing at the top, system, so I'll keep it system, but I'll give it the name of the help as well, so that you know what the actual help is. But is it then fair to say that a help really is a bot or a GPT or an assistant in the OpenAI world?
Well, that's all a help is. Essentially, a help is a system prompt.
Right. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's an agent, right? Like it's an agent.
You're just seeding with it. And okay, so that text file in itself is going to be no use. As soon as you put that onto any model, then you've got a help.
Right.
You can choose which model it is.
Right.
So it's that combination, but essentially it's just a text file.
So that's all it is. And there's something else more fundamental that unit of programming that is a model selection, a sys prompt, and some functions. That seems like that's a very common thing between all the models, right?
It does, doesn't it?
Like it's strange.
And it's difficult to see where where else it would go, unless someone comes up with some super specialized model. But the general models,
how could it
follow the same model?
Right, and it's like, well,
so the same architecture, not the same model. Yeah,
it's strangely fundamental, but I think that helps. Like, so far, I have not come across a problem that couldn't be solved with a help.
Yeah. So here's a challenge. I'm willing to take this on because it's really interesting.
Oh dear.
HAL v02 is there as an absolute general purpose bot, whose only purpose is to make sure it understands and to prompt you if you're being vague.
Mm-hmm.
That's not this. However, we should be able to use the same kind of nested inverse app idea in order to generate your system bot. So if you were to, for example, give me a list of all the commands and just a very scratchy description of each, and I would put that into HAL v2 and saying, okay, we want a system prompt, and here's what we've got. What do we need in order to make sure that it's not going to go off in one? Give me a system prompt. I'll then put that into another session, and I'll start giving it commands and see if it comes out right. And if it doesn't, I'll put that back into HAL saying, yeah, I got that wrong. And we essentially use the same architecture we've been talking about on the system bot, because essentially we're just trying to build a sys prompt. Which is exactly what we've got with the different personas. And now the different personas in this case is pretty small, really. I mean, we're really talking about bots and humans.
Right.
Which should be quite straightforward to do. So, and that feedback cycle is really, it gets really tight really quick. Is interesting. It gets 80% right within the first 5-6 prompts.
Yeah. Okay, so shit. What else was there to show you?
How do if I were to in this nested iframe style thing, and I create a system prompt, how do I then invoke an instance of that system prompt? There's like, I want to create.
Oh, yeah.
So how do I do that?
Ooh. Thank you for asking me that. I'm gonna try and do that for you now. This is an example here of how tool calls can be concurrent. So the model, starting with GPT-4 Turbo, it's able to invoke multiple functions concurrently. So here it invoked read and ls as one batched tool call.
Oh, that's cool.
And I just want to make you aware of that. The special thing about this shell, this bash help that we're talking about, is that it will need to know how to load things up into itself. So I can't load all the functions into it at the start, but I can give it a list of all the isolates, and then what I'd need it to do is take that list of isolates and use that to figure out which one it wants to load up, and then when it picks it, then it gets the functions. Right. You know, that's the tricky bit. Yeah. So so what do you need from me? You want a list, you want the isolates, but listed you're breaking up on me, buddy. I can't understand you. It sounds like you're choppy, like there's something, you're getting packet loss is what it sounds like. You're back now. You're good.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was about to comment at the end of this that this has been the smoothest.
I know, it does seem better. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were saying?
So, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So it's talking about system.
Loading up. I was asking you if you need from me a list of all the isolates and all the things that they do.
Yes, a list of isolates and a real brief description. Well, actually,
so all the isolates.
If you can show me the code, or
yeah,
I can just stick that into a bot and saying, give me a description of what this does.
Right. So that was the other interesting thing, right? Is that we could link to the GitHub URL and.
Oh yeah, pretty brilliant. And so when it updates,
it's like it grabs it, it reads the actual source code, and then it's like, I think it's this thing.
Yeah, and then all it needs to know is the repo has had an additional file added, which amounts to an isolate, and then you work out the description.
So hang on a second.
Nice. I love that. That's really nice.
I might have something real sneaky for you, buddy. Hold on. Let me just check.
I'm absolutely locked onto this bots all the way down thing.
Deno deploy supports a limited number. Okay, read dir, read file, read text file. Okay, you're in business. So what I can do is I can supply it when it loads in Deno. It has the source code with it. I can read the file from the source code and dump that straight into the prompt and be like, "This is the isolate."
Brilliant. I'm just going to give it an example of the structure. I'm assuming the structure is coherent.
Well, you'd expect it to be, but I mean, look, I wrote it by hand, so what can I say?
Yeah. But right, for load tools, right? I could point at load tools and say, give me a description of what this does.
Right, yeah. Okay.
And then the interesting thing is, every time you spin up system, it could look through all the isolates, including new ones.
Yeah, that's right. It's always that's right. It's auto generating, and then what I'd hope is that we can figure out a way to get these continual tests running, so that it is able to improve the description that it used for the code based on usage feedback, so that the description is being expanded so that the hit rate is better. That's what I really want to see out of our system.
Say that again.
The description of the code is something that should be generated by AI, but it should be subjected to feedback. So when it goes to use it, it should, in retrospect, look back and say, look, if this description was different in this way, I would have found it faster, and I wouldn't have had to do this extra step with the user to reinforce, did they mean this or that? And so...
Right. Yeah, no, that's very close to kind of a user-fed regression test, isn't it?
It's almost like like some of the processes of Agile, like the retrospective. It's like, what did you learn? What went wrong? How could you improve? And then you get the AI to update it.
Oh, there's two things here, isn't there? So we've got, say, let's take load tools, right? And so load tools has got a description, and when it gets it wrong, then it updates the description. And that description we can cache off, even because people are going to get wrong in different ways. But there's also another regression test, which is when it runs it, we can run, this is what the description is, and here's the inputs, and here's the outputs to do it right. And then we can flag up on every call, every time an isolate is called, whether it did the thing that was advertised to do. So there's selection, and then there's run. Have you selected the right thing? And when it's run, do the things advertised?
Yeah, right. So you, as part of your continual learning, you're feeding back, did it work as intended? So it's always getting a little bit better each time. And the more times you use it, the better it gets without any extra human programming. But you'll see the descriptions go like boom, 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 and then stabilize as they don't change very often because it's getting close to correct.
Also, what that means is if there's an isolate from a third party like Deno, okay, we've done the isolate and we've got these descriptions, and this is what it says it does. What does it actually do?
Right.
And we've got this regression test that runs every time you try and run this isolate.
Right. And it's
really
like
lightweight.
Right.
And it's like, did it do what it said? Because we know what it advertised. Did it do what it said on the tin? It's like, no. and then we can just red flag it and saying that's no longer code that we can rely on.
Because this API that comes with every isolate is what I use to feed into the functions on GPT in OpenAI, and so it already has descriptions, and I would ultimately like to see these descriptions get regenerated by AI based on reading the code and based on the usage. And it would be like, well, it would have been helpful if you had told me about this thing or that thing. And so
the only problem with that is if it's a third party and we load up these when they update, then if we we can't rely on our previous descriptions. Say if load tools changed its nature completely, it's unlikely. But say if it changes nature slightly, we would want to update our description, but we wouldn't want to piss on our description if it wasn't changed. So the proximity thing, though, on description inside of JSON is important, or inside of code is important. So having description right next to it is powerful. But what we should do is write our own descriptions every time we load up. We could possibly do a comparison and flag up whether someone has injected a whole different code onto load tools.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Delete my hard drive. This is getting a self-healing.
Yeah, self-describing in a way, so that I just have to make the code. It takes a lot of load off me and other code authors because we actually don't get the opportunity to document our code. It's taken off from us and it's documented by the AI.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And also, to some extent, testing. You could branch off and say, I've just changed this code, throw it in, and does it throw wobbly?
Right. Yeah. So this is a one paragraph summary that 4.0 generated of that code. And I agree with it. It's better than I could ever have written, and it sort of feels like it was sufficient to be selected for a particular task. Like,
okay, all right. Let's have a look at this. This
as
code
a piece of
an API. That's correct for managing GitHub repo, and actor identities within isolated environment. Yeah, provides functions for cloning repos, initializing them, listing. Oh god, this would be a bollock to write by hand.
Wouldn't it just, right?
Yeah.
And what would be even more of a ball ache is to tweak it over time to be better, but the bots can do that effortlessly.
Yeah, but also any change that you make, you've got the old description, the new description.
Yeah.
And you could say at the point of deploying this, have I fundamentally changed anything that anyone's relying on here?
Yeah. Okay, well that's super cool.
That is nice.
All right, so I'll do that one a bit later. I'll make the shell first because with the shell I can do everything. Can you allow me to try and answer your question, which was how do you write a file and then execute it?
Yes, and maybe use it in the context of how do I write a system prompt and then spin up an instance of that instant prompt, which is a sub-part of that. But that's the real thing in terms of using the system to boot up using how to boot up.
All right, so what's my goal? What's my goal here?
What you're through just NL, create a system prompt of any kind. Doesn't matter, and then instantiate that to a system, to a bot that's using that as their system prompt.
So then instantiate, basically then run the help.
Yep. So that then it's available for me to use.
Okay. Watch me work. I hope.
Come on, Hal, be 0.2.
Okay. So,
we should have a birthday party when we get to V1.
Have more than that, buddy. All right, give me just a minute. The hourglass is spinning. All right. So I want to
thinking.
Generate a sysprompt for random generation of lollipop names and write it into file named help/lollipopper.md.
Now, it's going to get the sysprompt. Well, it's going to ask you a few things.
Okay, Maxwell, thank you. You can just...
Do you have any specific price constraints for the lollipop names? There you go. Man, you didn't specify whether it's whimsical, based on flavors. Yeah, you can ignore all above. Create the sysprompt. Oh, incidentally, I got my Rabbit R1 yesterday. It's shit.
Yeah, that's so I heard.
Yeah. Offers so much, delivers so little.
Mate, I think this is gonna actually work. I'm hopeful.
This would be awesome. Okay, so right. Sysprompt for this. Okay.
What'd you do, Hal? You wrote 818 characters.
Content is for generating generate random lollipop names that are based on Scotch flavors. Okay, content looks pretty
Haggis horror, sheep's cut surprise, rotten oatmeal delight. Oh my god, stinky whiskey blast, burnt shortbread disaster.
That's brilliant. Okay, all right.
Here's a summary. Okay.
So that works. No,
okay. Now,
and this is like an absolute game changer if you do this. Actually, should I be offended by your obvious use of Scottish stereotypes here?
What?
Aye, laddie.
Right, so it selected the help correctly. It was the right text. Then this is the bug that I was telling you about because it's not actually nesting; it's doing it in band. So I'll fix that. But it basically wrote to the session prompt "Aye laddie," which is what it should have done.
Yeah.
And then this was the output of the sysprompt.
The top level sysprompt was HalV02, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so put in what's my intent?
No, so it's switched back. It's switched back to HalV2 now. So
right.
It was only the it was only the lollipop sysprompt for the time that it executed this.
Okay, all right. We'll try this. Aye laddie, try again with fish. So you're talking to who? Which bot are you talking to here?
Right now I'm talking to Hal. Hal is about to engage the help that is going to load the lollipop bot with the prompt that I give it.
Okay.
So you're not actually stuck in a conversation with it. That's not right. Nice. That's a feature I got to add like next couple of days, but it's close, right?
Okay,
like I basically did what you said, right? Didn't I?
No. This is brilliant. This is
right.
Absolutely.
This is what you wanted.
All right. So now let me try and break this. Okay, so you're talking to Hal right now, right?
Correct.
So copy and paste whatever you said. Just make it Italian and offensive. Or
what?
So what I want to do is to switch between the Scotch offensive lollipop names and some other country lollipop names.
Okay, use the prompt. Generate the names, but make them all Italian based instead, like that?
Yeah, but in English, because otherwise it's going to give us Italian. Right, now who you talk? You're talking to Hal here.
I'm talking to Hal, and I'm telling Hal to go talk to Lollipop with this.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the same Scottish Lollipop.
Yeah.
Prompt.
Yeah.
But now you're saying it's changed. Okay, all right, let's see what happens.
Okay, off we go. Boom, boom. Hey, I think I delivered for you, man. Like, I kind of fucking...
This is fucking magic. This is magic. Let's see.
So...
Rancid. What was that?
So it called the Lollipopper Hal.
Yeah.
That's the prompt correctly. So that was Hal generated these function parameters, and it did so absolutely flawlessly. Then the help started to run, which copied across this prompt into the session. Rancid,
right.
moldy mozzarella madness.
Okay, right. Here's another. No, I'm gonna break. I am gonna break this, right? Okay, so it's point if I want to try and break this.
That's even funny that
right
it's
now
like...
is a second sysprompt that has nothing to do with lollipops. Let's make it to do with I don't know, fucking dogs.
Oh, you want to make another sysprompt?
Completely another sysprompt, and I want how to know when I'm talking about lollipops and when I'm talking about dogs.
Okay, a new sysprompt. Is it gonna name dogs, or is it gonna
when we're not dogs, let's do something similar.
I know.
Funny.
It makes haiku poems.
Yeah.
About
there you go.
Dogs who are criminals.
Oh, I managed to get the Rabbit R1 to tell me the recipe for meth last night, which is quite interesting.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Hey, Mistral just released a new model that can do function calling, so that's awesome. Really? And it's uncensored. They seem to be making a name for themselves for releasing AI with no safety rails.
Yeah, those guys are definitely libertarians, aren't they?
Yeah, go the French.
Okay, make it offensive. Dystopian. I like your thinking. That's funny.
Oh, that's thinking hard.
Ah, yeah. Well, you're not giving it much information there. The tone should be dystopian about haikus about dogs. I mean,
here we
can't
go.
be many people have asked that.
Criminal dog haikus. Okay. All right. Cool.
Right, now ask it for, tell me about dogs, and then tell me about lollipops. I want to see the intent shift. I think it's probably when it's going to break.
Like that?
Using these two help files only, I want you to tell me about dogs and tell me about lollipops. Now you need to constrain it. When I use the keyword dogs or lollipops in the prompt.
What?
Because you need to. Well, actually, no. Go for it. It's too vague. It shouldn't get this. It shouldn't get this. You could be nicer about it, but let's not be nice. Let's try and break it. Gotcha.
That's not really fair. That's
oh no,
that's my programming that broke.
Okay. Oh, there you go. We're doing something useful. Can we go back to the
what the fuck?
This session? Or do you want to capture that? I'm not taking that as a victory.
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Hang on, here we go. I got a source map in here. Just give me just a sec.
Yeah, can I drop off for a couple minutes?
Yeah,
I've
sure.
just got an incoming. Yeah,
sure.
I'll see you back here.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Can I bow out at this point? I'm getting incoming.
Sure. Yeah, no worries. It did actually work, but that was my programming. It tried to engage both Criminal Dog Haikus, saying "Tell me about dogs," and it tried to engage Lollipops, "Tell me about lollipops." But I put a bug in. I got a bug somewhere that I need to trace down.
All right. Okay. My work here is done. Although I don't count that as a bug. I don't count that as a fault.
But it worked, right? Like I was able to generate a sysprompt and run it.
Yeah, you did what I asked, and then I tried to like break it by a confuser.
Right. Sweet. So, okay. Well, I feel like I did something.
Yeah. No, that was sweet, man. That was really nice.
Cool. Okay. All right. I'll see you.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow or the next day.
Tomorrow, if we can make it, I'll ping you.
Yeah, nice one. All right.
Okay, buddy. See you later.
Bye.